I'm playing rhythm.
Oh, when you get rhythm, you play chords.
On my phone now,
Like on guitar? Yeah, of course, yeah. Rhythm was.
Oh, did it?
A lot of the shapes you're doing this morning,
Like
it's all this flat.
I live
Almost
here,
like
and
flat.
it's like, I didn't know if I'd be able to get away or not, so.
Well, if I can do it.
I always
Yeah,
do
fair
this,
enough.
I
just need to take the time.
I'm here all during Jango Fest, just to avoid it, you know, and I'm like, yeah, we should all participate. But there's so many things on this up in here.
So, we can start.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. Well, always a contrast between the guitar workshop and the violin workshop. It's the same. Let me introduce Christian. Yeah, I don't do this in the guitar workshop. It's too many people. Christian, Ebba, Beverly.
Yeah.
Beverly.
Yeah.
Thank you, darling. Is it started already?
Ja, dat is over June.
Yeah. Okay. And another treat. Did you bring me another treat? Oh. Thank you. Beverly. Sorry, what's your name? Eva. Okay.
And Tyson.
Tyson, we met.
Yes.
And we met too.
David? Yeah.
Yes, David. Welcome. Okay. Folks, how many of you were at the concert last night? No one?
I was at the concert. I loved the concert.
I made a surprise guest appearance.
It was great.
So, if you're interested, if you're interested in how to improvise, that's not this workshop. This workshop is only about technique, and then not any technique, but by the specific way of the way I play the violin. I was taught to play the violin, which is pretty unusual. Now I have a YouTube channel, which I talk about technique too. So how many of you have seen those videos? You've seen the one? Which video did you see?
The left hand position, and
There's-
I watched a whole bunch of different
Okay,
ones, and some about holding the bow.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a knuckle injury,
Okay.
so,
What happened?
I had a gardening
Oh.
accident, and
That's why I
so
don't garden.
it was bad,
Yeah.
So I'm getting over it, but I'm
Yeah.
wearing this just because it's an exo, you know, it
Oh, yeah,
strengthens my
yeah,
hand,
yeah.
and it's working really well, but even before that happened, I was getting a lot of hand fatigue.
Okay.
After
Nice
playing
rotator
for
cuff too,
45 minutes, like my hand was so tired, I was like, okay, I can make any progress playing
Alright, so-
45 minutes a few days a week, so.
So the reason, that's good that you said that. You watched some of the videos too?
Yeah, I did a lot of Russian vocals.
Okay.
And,
So the reason I teach this workshop, and the reason why I think it's important to it is because my whole view on playing the violin is that it should not require any effort, or well, it does require, but like stress. So the experience has to be as pain-free as possible, and that's a thing that in violin education is kind of lacking. It's a political thing. It has to do with the competitive nature of classical music teaching, and especially violin in general. This is killing, because there's competitions, and if you have students that win that competition, it's good for you, right? And the students themselves, they feel like they have to be better than the other ones. So the only thing that is
Use your glasses.
Oh God, thank you, sweetheart.
The only thing that is important seems to be your ability to play complicated things, right? And so they hammer this in. You gotta practice 8 hours a day on this Paganini caprices because you gotta play them on the competitions. And the quickest way to get you there is the best way. The problem is that the quickest way to get you there, unfortunately, as it appears, is a way that requires you to use a lot of strength while playing the violin, a lot of stress, and when you're 8 or 12, that works, and you see all these prodigies, like they're 12 and they're playing all the Paganini pitches, and it's like wonderful. But when you turn 22 and 32 and 42, this way of playing the violin becomes really difficult and painful. So what happened to a lot of people, like Van Gogh, for instance, he really can't play anymore. Repin was also with Sacher-Bronn. Sacher-Bronn, one of the great teachers of the world. he produces students that win competitions, but he also produces students that use this violin technique that is very much focused on using force. Like they have to think, I know a student of his, that they have to squeeze the string down as hard as possible. To get the articulation in the fast. So they practice on squeezing it down, and then, so when they have fast words, it sounds like, it sounds wonderful. But imagine the stress on your fingers doing this 8 hours a day, every day. At one point the fingers will become stiff, and actually you can't move them anymore. So, it just simply doesn't work. It works during the, I always compare it to like professional sports, right? The tennis players, or like a professional player, they have to go to the gym and do crazy exercises, 500 push-ups and lifting weights. It's not the healthy thing, but they create muscles and flexibility that is great during the time that you're expected to be good at professional sports, like 20 to 30, 32. And then your career is over, you make millions, and you become a sports commentator or like a teacher, and you teach other people to be like that. And it's just the way, because it's so competitive, but music should not be that way, because you want to be able to play when you're 75. It's not going to work with those techniques. And I know this firsthand, because I play in the Dutch film music orchestra. I'm one of the orchestra leaders of that orchestra. And we record, like twice a month, we record film scores. And I've seen many, and it's usually people that don't have a job yet, right, and they can play freelance, or it's people that were in orchestras and like and they're retired, but they still find it fun to do it. I've seen so many people drop out because playing the violin is too painful for them. And it's all due to this kind of technique that they were taught, which is the main technique that's being taught right now in the world, because it produces the fastest results. I was taught in another school, which is purely focused on having no stress. And it will produce the same results, but it will go slower. That's why you see so few people actually win competitions that play without soloist. Also, there's a few people that do it, but the last one that I remember doing it is Ray Chan. Maybe you know him. He's an American classical violin player. And now he plays with the soloist. He started playing with the soloist. Probably because of peer pressure, I don't know what happened. But in the US you have a guy called Aaron Rosent, and he's one of the few teachers that still teaches this way of violin playing. It's the late Russian violin school that started with Auer, and then produced people like Heifetz, like Milstein, Elman.
Leopold Hour.
Huh?
Leopold
Leopold
Hour?
Hour,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And there's people now that teach in that style, but in that school, but they change things, right? They add it in the soloist because they feel that their students have to be as good as the other students at a certain age. Okay, so now you know the background. And the reason I think you all are folk or jazz players, right? You don't play classical, heavy classical.
I do both.
But you don't play the Tchaikovsky violin concerto, right?
No.
Right? So I think if you play folk music and jazz, this technique is perfect for that. But even for classical, it kind of works. But you know, if you want to play the Paganini capriccios and you want to be able to learn that stuff in a week, then it might not be the quickest.
But I just had rotator cuff surgery, so I had to stop playing for 2 years and just had
Okay.
surgery. So I'm into I wore my wore my body out. So,
Okay,
yeah,
because of the violin playing?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
and lifting too, but both. Yeah, just chronic, just overuse.
Okay, so to give an example, I feel no stress when playing the violin. I don't have to warm up. I just pick it up and I can immediately play the same way. I can play in 5 hours or 13 hours. I never have pain. I do get tired here.
Yeah.
It always feels the same to me. Doesn't matter if it's early, late. It feels to me like walking to the store. No effort. And I thank my teachers for that. And I want to show you how it works. So there's two aspects, right? There's the left hand and there's the right hand. So let's start with the right hand. Let's start with the bow. So can you all show me your bow? The way you were taught, or hold the bow right now? Yeah? I like the way you hold the bow. Can you show me this way? Yeah? Okay, can you show me this way? Okay, interesting. Okay, so can you explain to me the mechanics of your bow hold?
Well, actually, when I play fiddle, so I always switch between what I do. I'm not really committed to my,
Okay,
I'm really not committed to, I mean, I can play like this too.
right,
So,
okay, okay.
But I also have a really bad arthritis in this finger that doesn't, the thumb, which is okay because it's a natural bend, but it's not going to do anything.
So you all have variations of the Franco-Belgian bow, correct?
Yeah.
And you have one with the fingers spread apart. I think that comes maybe from Galabian or something, could be. You have a variation where the fingers are kind of tilted forward. It's almost like the Russian bow hold, but not yet. You have one where the pinky is straight. Are you a bluegrass player?
I have done more folk.
Yeah, I see a lot of bluegrass players. And you have, what's your bow hold? It's kind of a weird version. That's the version I don't really know what that is actually. But if it works, it works, right? But okay.
Well, sometimes it works, but
So the thing is, my bow looks like this, like this. Yeah, it's kind of looks like your bow, but it's a big difference because my bow goes here, right? You see
Here.
these two joints are free.
That's interesting.
It's called the late Russian bow hold. And
These joints are free.
yes, so I'm gonna now teach you how to hold the bow, and then teach you why this bow hold, I use this bow hold, and why it's perfect for jazz or folk or legato playing, and why I think, I don't want to say superior, but better for your health, and easier. Okay, so the way to do it is you put your thumb in the same place as you put at the Franco-Belgian bow hold. So the thumb is in this little crevice, what do you call it?
Yeah, the frog,
Like this little thing here, right? The thumb is there. I'd say bent, but for example, Cavacos will also has kind of straight, so it doesn't really. I mean, I've bent, but as long as the thumb is there and it's relaxed, right? It's relaxed. Then you put the bow that starts, putting the bow in between or like close to the second joint there. You see there. And now you wrap the finger around the bow so that it touches the fingernail of your thumb. Right? So we have a loop. A loop.
That's totally different.
Yeah, we have a loop. Can you show me? Yes, very good. Yeah.
But it's not much
It
of a
could
loop.
be more than there, yeah. So wrap it around.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. First step. Now, always support it. This bow hold is not very balanced in the hand without the violin.
Yeah.
So we're going to support the bow on the other side. We turn it around. So we have this loop, right? Loop.
Can I see what your loop looks like?
Yeah. So my finger is a little bit more round. You're my first finger. Right? So try to lean on the bow, lean forward. So you see, I can see this part of my hand is straight up to the ceiling, right? It's not
the pinky side of your hand.
it's straight up to the ceiling. Yeah. Now I'm gonna just drop the fingers on the bow. Just naturally, no stress. I'm not trying to place them anywhere. I'm just dropping them on. Very good. Yeah. Okay. So the big difference between the Russian bow and the Franco-Belgian, there is no counterweight for the bow in the pinky. The pinky is just there. In the Franco-Belgian, we have a counterweight, so it feels very stable. Right? It's very stable. This does feel not stable. But if you think about this, what will happen when I put the violin there? What will happen when I put the violin there?
It'll push down.
All the weight of the bow
Is on
is on the violin, which will produce a strong tone without effort. So now, let's put the violin, let's put the bow on the violin. Now you see your pinky. There's no roll for your pinky. Tilt the bow a little bit forward for the best sound, and you do that by having a little bit of an arch wrist, but don't try to arch like this. Just keep a natural arch. Yeah. Keep your arm a little bit lower. Like relax your shoulder. Okay. Now when we bow, let's relax all. I'm going to show you what the bowing actually looks like. So how does this feel to all of you?
I mean,
Weird?
2 decades of The Franco-Belgian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels weird, right?
Of course, yeah.
But you realize what happens, right? The Franco-Belgian, there's a counterweight.
Right.
You put it on the violin, you want to create tone, you have to push.
Right.
Yeah, this is just automatic.
Russian bowl, there isn't, it is unbalanced. You put it on the violin, and
No
it
weight
feels
of
very stable. Yeah. Also, there's a lot more of the hand behind the violin. How does it feel for you? How does it feel?
I'm not sure where to put my.
So, relax your shoulder. Just,
Figuring that out.
okay, just relax your shoulder. Relax shoulder. Then just put your arm straight and put it on the violin. Yeah.
Okay.
How does it feel?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, how does it feel for you?
I could get used to it.
Okay, so now let's talk about the mechanics, because the mechanics of bowing are completely different. Right? The Franco-Belgian mechanics of bowing, they have a big emphasis of using the whole bow, like from the frog to the tip. And they have emphasis on using fingers and wrist to do stuff. Right? There you have finger bowings, you have many exercises that go like this. Right? All that kind of stuff. I'm trying to do Franco-Belgian bow. And then I have this stuff like you do bow chains and you do. They have all kinds of that stuff, right? We don't do any of that stuff in the Russian bow. It's gone out of the. Then they have the thing of training your pinky to be strong by doing this kind of stuff. Gone, because we don't use the pinky, we don't use the fingers to bow at all. So what are we going to use to bow? We're going to use the lower arm, and that's the only thing we're ever going to use to bow. So we put the. I will show you how it looks, what it looks like. Put the bow on the violin. Now I'm going to just move my lower arm. We never go to the extreme frog. It's very uncomfortable. I'd say, never go past this point, but I'd say never go past this point. You say, but don't you need to use the whole bow? No, because there's so much more weight on the strings that you need less of the bow to produce the same sound. So you don't need all those finger movements, because the finger movements are to change at the frog. It's very complicated. It takes years to be a master of that. No, just. We don't care about inaudible bow changes. That doesn't exist, right? I mean, it sounds exactly the same to me as. Maybe there's a slight difference, but it's also because there's less pressure on the strings. So it's wasted effort for me to practice on it. I want bowing to be simple, and this is very simple, right? If you get used to the bow hold, the only thing you have to ever do is move your lower arm. No finger, no wrist, nothing. You play fast, you move your lower arm. Yeah? You play slow, you move your lower arm. Don't bow past this point. You don't need to do, right? Also, you get a much stronger tone at the tip because there's more weight on the bow. So a lot of the Russian bowing is in the top half. Now, as a coincidence, a lot of jazz bowing and folk bowing is in the top half.
Yeah. But
now you get a bigger sound. It's very easy. If you watch me playing in videos, you can see it's all this lower arm. Another thing is, it's generally easier to train large muscles than it is to train smaller muscles. It goes twice as fast. So because I'm only bowing with large muscles, learning how to bow is an easier process. Training smaller muscles takes a lot more time. So if you bow like this, you do bow with the smaller muscles, it just takes more time to be a master of it. This is by far the easiest method of bowing. The only thing you have to get used to is this bow hold.
Does this transfer over to cello too?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
No, because they have the
Right, you gotta play a little, yeah.
it's a different grip, but who knows. So now, the funny thing is, if you now watch Heifetz play or Milstein, you see the bow. I've been told so many times, yeah, it's amazing that they still can play so well. Look how they hold the bow. It's so weird. How can they play like that? It's like the straight pinky. They're not having a straight pinky. They're just having this bow here and relaxing the fingers on the bow, and then your fingers will be straight. Milstein is a very short guy with short arms. So for him to reach this point, he had to move his lower arm. So his bow goes like this. Right? Because he's so small. But because the action is all from here, and then the lower arm would pull but he doesn't care about that. I have long arms, so I don't need to do that. But if you have shorter arms, you might pull your lower arm, your upper arm with the lower arm. That doesn't matter. Just as long as you focus on moving this. You don't focus on the wrist, you don't focus on the fingers. You keep those things relaxed. You keep the joints, never lock it. Don't lock your wrist. If your wrist moves, it's because it's being moved by the lower arm. But we don't never think about it. So we think about two things. We think about this loop. We think about tilting the ball forward. That's important. And we do that by having a little bit of an arched wrist, not too much. Having a relaxed shoulder. And then, so let's all try to play a G scale. This one slowly. And we're gonna bow from maybe 1/3 to the tip. So like this. I can already see it in your hand. But
I think I already do it somewhat.
Yeah, because you already do it somewhat.
Yeah.
So your pinky's now off the bow. That's not a problem, but I mean, I would try to keep it close to the other fingers, because now it's a little bit like this.
Just for about, yeah.
The Russian bow looks good, but your bow is a little bit too straight on the violin. Yeah.
It's supposed to be outward rotation.
You still have to get used to it.
And I'm out of tune with you guys, I just tuned to some,
Okay.
can I name?
When you've got the weight of the bow into the violin, when the violin's counterposing, is the grip more of a firm relation between these, or here, or a little of both?
What do you mean? In the Russian
So,
bow?
okay,
Yeah?
in the Russian bow, because
What you were showing me was a Frank Belgian bow. That's right. Okay.
well, yeah, just now,
Yeah.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
more than that. So again, the pinky is inactive.
It's
That's something
inactive.
that's
No, it doesn't do
so
anything.
so new to me, right? But the question is, the majority of the grip is a relationship between these two fingers, is just as far as the security of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
or these two fingers.
No, the loop, this loop. You could say this is kind of for balancing the bow tilting forward, so that it doesn't like.
Right, and then the third and fourth fingers
Don't do anything.
superfluous.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
superfluous. So I never bow here, right?
Yes, of course, yeah.
So now go watch Gavako's video
Right.
or Milstein and completely understand what's happening.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to watch it though, and because those people are not good despite their vocals, they're good with their vocals helping them. Because it simplifies everything.
Right.
And that's what we want, right? We don't want to spend a lot of time. Well, you already spent the time. But also the other thing is, the stress that those exercises give on your pinky, it's ridiculous. Why would you train that if it's not necessary to do?
And it travels further up sometimes.
Of course.
Too, right?
And also, there's something in the sound that changes. There's some kind of focus in the sound that changes from. I can really hear it. I mean, maybe I'm fooling myself. It could be placebo, but I can usually tell this is probably Russian bow, or there's something in the focus of the sound that changes. Like the French bow sounds lighter, even when you're pressing. Then it sounds more like pressing. The Russian bow has a natural focus sound. Might be a little more difficult to play light.
Yeah, it feels heavier, which is good.
But then you have to actually lift your arm if you want to play lighter. So
if you're holding this correctly, and you let go of the bow, the tendency is going to be for
yes,
the bow.
well without the violin this feels terrible.
It's just going to tip, which is interesting. Yeah.
I always say this feels very unstable without the violin, but more stable with the violin than the Franco-Belgian.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually. I teach a lot of adults, beginning adults, and I think this is a really
Yeah, because it's easy.
Yeah.
You can teach this in one lesson, and the only thing you have to do is to go to a mirror, make sure the bow hold. So it's important that the bow is that your head is kind of, well, if you have to loop it, but that doesn't become like this, you know. Right? It has to be like this, and that it's important that it goes to the forward, and then they move their arm. Let's move your arm. And there's something else I want to say. I don't remember now. I'll get to it.
It's
Okay.
very different than.
Yeah, there's something else I want to say.
Yeah.
So there's variation in the Russian bow hold, going from the second joint to even the third joint. For me, it's usually somewhere in between, but it actually might change during playing even. It doesn't really matter. Right? It can be there. As long as it's not beyond this, because then we get to Franco-Belgian territory.
And it's important to have this going over, touching the thumb too.
That's what I say to learn it,
Check
but in
it.
the end, that doesn't really matter. As long as you have the bow between those two joints, you're good.
Yeah,
And wrapped around. But you know, sometimes I'm not completely sure it's always touching. It's just the way I teach it.
but it's kind of a reference point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you teach someone the bow, that's a good thing to say. Like that's the. And the thumb being straight or round, that is something you gotta experience. Maybe it depends on your hand, what you feel. Like Kavkov's thumb is very straight, but he has like, what do you call it when the thumb is bent like this? Double jointed.
Yeah.
I think it's double jointed, right? My thumb is very round.
I think as if it's not, it's hard to play faster notes for me when it's.
Well, Kavkov's is very fast.
Yeah, that's interesting. But like you say, but I think he's
Stop.
compensating if he
It's
has a double,
Yeah, I think he's double jointed.
yeah.
Well, in the context of folk, and especially at a jam, a lot of times playing lighter is not what I need. I need to be playing louder. But when I do that, I get tenser and my tone suffers.
Good. That's a good point, because that's not no. So we talked about the mechanics of the bow, right? We talked about how it works. Now let's talk about why I think this bow hold. I don't want to say superior. You gotta realize that violin education is a completely political thing. I teach at the University of the Arts in Rotterdam. There's 2 students of Heifetz teaching. They are teaching this bow hold, of course. So we totally agree about that. But then they teach all the students to play with the shoulder rest. The reason for that is because of the vibrato. And then, you know, I'm in committees like watching students, because I'm a jazz teacher and they're a classical teacher. And then they all have this huge arm vibrato. Sounds great, like this. You need a shoulder rest for it, but I'm gonna try it out for it.
Wow.
No, it's like this. Like huge arm vibrato. It's very difficult to do without shoulder rest. It sounds great, but it's so bad for your arms to do this. And all the students are 18, you know, I think they're great. Like they're the best playing students in the conservatory. Everybody wants to study with those teachers, but they only accept people that are already very good. So, and then I say, you know, that vibrato looks very unhealthy to me. You know what you're talking about? We started with Heifetz. They said, but Heifetz had a wrist vibrato. No, arm vibrato. But it's not possible. I was just playing without a shoulder rest. It's just not possible. The violin would shake so much. And you look at the videos, you can very clearly see it's a wrist vibrato, but it's all political. So, you know, I get into fights with that. But we at least we agree about the bow. But the reason why it's such a good fit for folk is this bow is designed to play legato. Because you're in the strings, right? Your bows are on the strings, there's weight to play long lines. It's made for that kind of stuff. It's not made for spiccato, but spiccato feels kind of unreal with it. But I never use spiccato in jazz, right? So when I have to use spiccato or sautier, I maybe change and I start to maybe do stuff like. So I change to Franco-Belgian for that.
Kind of nice to have both.
Yeah, but you know, I think people like Milstein and have never changed the bow. They could do the spiccato and sautier with their bow hold. It just takes much more effort to learn that. So that's why, of course, you're gonna play Tchaikovsky partitura. There's loads of sautier and spiccato. So I understand the reasoning behind teaching people the Franco-Belgian bow hold, because all those bow strokes become much easier.
So Franco-Belgian starts like this, and then you use this finger and these fingers.
It's a bit of a
kind of
a
lever.
fulcrum, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories, but the main thing is that the bow. So for me, the main thing is the bow beyond the second finger
Yeah.
joint, that's a start. And then there's lots of variations with the fingers spread apart, close together. I mean, I don't even know.
Bow makers tell me that the vibration in the bow is very important, and when you're putting all your fingers on it, you're probably damping the vibration of the bow a little bit.
I want to see test for that. That seems highly unlikely to me because the violin, at the end, I know the wood is vibrating and it's actually important, but like the tone produced by the violin is more about the weight of the bow. Because there's, you see, I have the Argus bow. You know, Argus is carbon fiber. Right?
Yeah.
I know the guy. I forgot his name, but I know the guy who owns Argus, and I see him every year. Those bows just don't sound as good as a cheap wooden bow. It's the truth. And he said, I make the best bows in the world. He gave me this bow. Right? I tried playing with it. I have a really super cheap wooden bow. That bow sounds so much better than this bow. I had a very expensive Argus bow to try out, like 2,700 euros. I'm sorry, he said, yeah, it's tuned, especially it's tuned, right? We tune it, and oh yeah, I'm sorry, but the weight of the bow is much more important. These bows are so light. How am I going to produce a focused sound with this? Just give me a cheap wooden bow any day.
And I actually think the gentleman's point still stands. Like, I actually think there's more when I try this new bow hold.
Yeah.
I feel like my hand is lighter. Like I'm putting less weight into
Oh,
it.
that's interesting. I feel
Like less grip.
Yeah, there's less
compared
grip.
to the Franco Belgian.
There's for sure less grip.
Yeah, because I feel a lot of pressure.
But that's because the less grip, that's good. Because you want the violin to grip the bow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of your hand. Your hand is just guiding the bow.
So if you were to take this bowmaker's point, I think the Russian grip will actually provide more vibration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, that's how it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm
Like the Franco,
Now that it fits you.
with Franco Belgian, you're taught air bowing, for example, which means
Yeah.
that you're gripping the
Right.
the
Strength
bow
of the
with
pinky.
all your
Yep,
fingers
yep.
and holding it more, and that would let
Dampen
the
the
bow vibrate.
It could be.
less than
I'm not
just
sure if
guiding
it's
it
true,
with-
but yeah, it could be. Could be. I just like the tone I produce with the Russian way more. Well, I could produce a similar tone. You see, when you try to mimic, when people say bow in the strings, that's in the Netherlands when teachers, because I was taught for a very young age, I was taught Franco Belgian until I got another teacher when I was still young. So I played for maybe 4 years with the Franco Belgian. I don't remember doing it. I remember hating. No. I mean that's the way I was being taught. And he was also talking about bow in the string. And then what he meant was that I had to put more pressure. Well, you know what happens is you're starting to mimic the Russian bow. Because your pinky has no... But now it makes it very complicated. Because then you have the frog, and then you have to use your pinky, and then you have to use finger bowing. It becomes very, very complicated and confusing. Russian bow, we just don't bow here. We just bow here. Yeah. Okay, you make an extra bow change. Who cares? You know? Only other violin player care about the bows you use. It's really...
I just learned it, I've been taking a study with Rodney Miller, who's a really well-known New England fiddler.
Okay?
He does this. He's got a new bow, and you should watch it. Sometimes it's really interesting. So yeah, so it's a no middle finger in the there's a balance point here and a balance point here, and it's really interesting.
Might be good for some things, yeah. I don't think though it's good for the tone, but...
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Well, we find a why.
But you know Mike Cleveland, of course. I think he holds the ball like this, right?
Yeah, and then Mark O'Connor.
I was gonna
does.
say, well, yeah,
Mark
he's thumbed
O'Connor
outside,
does-
but
Yeah.
he also
Yeah, Mark
has
O'Connor
some, I
does
think
thumb on the outside.
Yeah.
but his grip is definitely more close to the Russian
Yeah,
than
yeah,
the Franco Belgian.
So I'm not saying that the Russian ball is the best one
I think I
ever.
really like this.
But the reason to do it is because the mechanics are simpler.
Yeah.
Not because, I mean, we can talk about the sound. I like the sound better. I like the feeling, but the mechanics are easier. It creates less stress on your head because your hands are only guiding the ball. There's no wrist. So the important thing is don't lock your wrist. Don't lock the fingers, right? They're just relaxed. They might move, but they're being moved by the lower arm. Yeah? And moving your arm is an effortless motion. Moving this is already much more effort than moving this. Just because moving big muscles is less effort and easier to train. So that's my thing about the Russian bow hold. Don't expect to be able to do it immediately, but expect it to be able to do it pretty quickly. Because it's not complicated. It's actually really easy. And if you watch on YouTube, there's actually, so far I found there's only one good video about Russian bow. It's the one I made. Because I've seen many videos, people that are taught with the Franco-Belgian bow that say, yeah, I just recently discovered the Russian bow. It's amazing that they can still play. Maybe it works like this, and then there's guessing, you know. And nobody ever talks about the simple mechanics, because that's the essence of the Russian bow. It's not the grip as much as the simple mechanics that go along with it. Yeah? So you could say, well, then I could actually use the Franco-Belgian bow and use the simple mechanics. Well, then you could certainly do that. But you get less of the tone. I mean, there's less weight, so you still have to press, create stress in your hand. Yeah. Okay. Are you good on the Russian bow hold?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to playing without shoulder rest. That's even more political.
I got rid of chin.
Huh?
I got rid of chin rest a long time ago.
Yeah, well, so the function for me of the chin rest is, it's kind of necessary if you want to do vibrato without the violin shaking too much like this. Yeah?
I have no, I've actually had a couple people now switch to no.
Can you play, if you want to, can you play some nice passage with beautiful vibrato for me? Okay, that's what I expected. So your vibrato is small amplitude, fast. Try doing this with large amplitude, fast. So like this. Okay. It's also to do with the way you do vibrato. But what I see is you press your chin way down on the violin, keep the violin stable.
Yeah.
So that works, but for me, so I never press down. That's one of the things. But the chin rest, the shape chin rest just helps, because my chin is just resting, helps the violin from doing too much this. It's probably possible to do it without chin rest, but just helps it a little bit.
Without shoulder rest and chin rest, it'd really be a challenge.
No, then you're a Baroque player.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know why you think you would need a shoulder rest.
See what happens.
I'm gonna have to reason that you think. I think you're gonna say in my head,
Yeah,
and when you say it, I say that's what I thought you were gonna say. Long neck? Yeah. Okay. You think because you have a long neck?
Well, even with chin rest, just hard to.
So you because you can't hold the violin. Okay. That's the two reasons. The main reason
I guess control for shifting too. Like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another good reason. You have no shoulder rest, so.
Well, no, I usually play with one. I knew you were going to say.
Why do you think you need one?
Because it reduces shifting of the violin and reduces neck strain.
Okay.
Holding it just
Good.
there.
Extreme shoulder rest.
Why do you think you need it?
Well, after 50 years of trying to learn the violin with it,
Yeah, but what do you think is
helps
the
me.
physical reason?
When I try to hold it like this, I find myself bringing this shoulder up.
Right. Okay.
And I
Very
try to grip it between my chin and my collarbone. I have an Aaron Razan lesson on how to do that, but it doesn't stay there.
Let me tell you a secret. I can't hold the violin with my neck. It drops immediately. It drops. I don't hold the violin with my neck. Whenever in life are you going to hold something with your neck? Do you think the neck muscles are designed or are evolved, whatever, to hold stuff? No, of course not.
Yeah, and that's what we're taught.
What do you hold stuff with?
Your
Hands.
Your arm, right?
Yeah.
So I hold the violin with my arm. I can hold an object with my arm all day without getting stressed. So I hold the violin with my arm. So the first thing is, yeah, but I need the arm to be free, right? But are you pressing nose down with your arm? No, you're pressing nose down with your fingers. Okay, so that's the first thing. We're going to talk about it in more detail. So I don't hold the violin with my neck at all. It drops immediately when I let go. So what do I hold the violin with? My arm. So where's the violin? It's not on my, so a shoulder rest, it's called a shoulder rest, so you think it should be on the shoulder. My violin is on my collarbone, right here. And then I just hold it up. And I can hold it at any height I wish. Right? Doesn't matter. Long neck, short neck, doesn't matter.
Of course, now
I mean, Huh?
Now I need my chin rest back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, so you do. So I can hold it up anywhere. Look at Milstein, his violin is right there. Right? I have his violin is there. He just holds his violin higher. Okay, now so there's two schools of playing without shoulder rest. One is very wrong. That's the one I'm not going to teach. It's not wrong. It produces great players, but it's very stressful. It's the one that I'm not sure it's Aaron Rosen, but if he taught you that, I mean, it's his thing. Maybe that's the reason why Ray Chen switched to shoulder rest. The one of the schools teaches you to come with the violin from above and meet your violin with your shoulder. So they start protruding their shoulder, and then they meet the violin like this. Is that what you were being taught?
Well, this was,
Is this the school without a shoulder rest?
This is one of the schools without shoulder rest.
Okay.
So they teach you to meet your neck, the violin from above, so never go from below, from above, and then let your shoulder meet the violin. Is that what you were being taught?
well, this was his personal student and assistant, so I
Okay.
don't want to blame Aaron.
But did he say that?
No, what he said was, you rest it against your throat and then you lay your head down on it.
Okay, but he didn't say anything about letting your shoulder meet the violin and going from above?
No,
Okay.
nothing like that.
No, I'm not sure that's a school. So that school is, for me, that's the worst thing you can ever do. Like letting your shoulder meet an object and having your shoulder raised. That will create so much stress in your body that you won't be able to do that for longer than 30 minutes, and then it gets painful and the older you get.
Right.
So
Yes.
don't do that, right? I don't care if going from above, below, who cares? I just put the thing on my collarbone. That's why I have a little bit of a, because there's always an option. If you want to avoid that, you could put some cloth there or put some soft thing here. Put it on your collarbone. Try to keep the violin within your body, right? See, my violin is inside my body. A lot of people with shoulder rest, they have the violin outside of their body, and then they kind of have to lean like this, and then they have to bow all the way there.
Right.
Yeah. So my violin is inside my body. I can see it if I want to. It feels great because it feels part of me. And then I hold it up with my hand or my arm. So when I drop my arm, the violin will drop. I can walk around. It's a crazy exercise to make children walk around holding the object between their neck. I mean, I had to do that in the beginning, right? Because my first teacher was teaching me shoulder rest. So then I had to say, yeah, put on some music and start walking to the rhythm with the violin. Okay. So now the violin is resting in this V, right? It's not down here, right? It's not down there. It's resting there. It's not a tight grip. It's just enough pressure to keep the violin there, and then it's just there. So if you have a posture with your thumb below the neck, that's impossible to do. You have to train yourself to have this posture. But I think most of you already have that posture, right? With the thumb beside the neck. Whereas I think it's a Chinese school, and that was meant for people with super small hands, so they have more reach. People like Sarah Che, they have their thumb here, and then when they go up, they put the thumb there. You cannot do that without a shoulder rest, of course. I understand that. But I think it's not necessary. Even with small hands, I mean, what's her name? I forgot her name, but there was also a female student for our with small hands that also play like this. I mean, it's just, you gotta practice to stretch or shift a little bit more. Well, we're going to shift it too, by the way. So this is the way. Can we all try to hold the violin like this? So we put the violin on our collarbone without shoulders. Just try it for now. Let's try it. I'm not gonna ask you to play.
I have to simulate my chin
Yeah,
rest.
and then we put it on the
And I
collarbone.
noticed that you have the chin rest that is actually elevated a little, I mean, this style that I have is flatter, that looks like
That really would. I mean, this is the chin rest that was on the violin when I got it.
Yeah.
But that was actually not
But
better.
if you get one.
Well, I have
just-
several.
Yeah,
I
oh,
just-
you do.
It wouldn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter.
No, the chin rest is just the shape. Reduce the violin from going making this motion when I do vibrato,
Okay.
which would be very difficult for me to play in tune. I don't care about shaking this way or this way. I care about shaking this way. Okay. So on the collarbone, and now we hold this V, and we just let's do it. Yeah, put your fingers on the strings, just lightly. Okay, so you are letting your shoulder meet the violin.
Yeah.
Put it inside. So my shoulder's not doing anything, right?
Understand.
It's just in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this. No,
Sure.
like this. You see my shoulder is completely empty and it's not moving.
Yeah.
Right, very good. It's good. You're making your shoulder meet the violin. Put the violin more in front of you. Keep your shoulder relaxed, relaxed.
Wow.
I think I really like that.
So let the violin just hang. So don't do this. Do this. You're straight face. You look straight, right? You don't look down.
Okay.
It's just part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you still kind of rotate your shoulder like this. You see that? Can you stand like, just stand relaxed as possible.
Okay.
Now feel your collarbone. Can you feel your collarbone?
Mm-hmm.
Put the violin right there. And don't change your posture. So you're still
I think
doing
you
this.
your elbows leaning against your.
Yeah, so what I do is, my elbow is still on the violin, right? It's still on the violin, but I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I actually don't want my shoulder to touch the violin at all.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
You're
space.
resting.
Yeah.
There's nothing touching, this is completely free. I could have be a pirate and have a
parrot.
parrot there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah, that's
you're pulling your.
I've always done that.
Yeah, but so you have your, try to keep your violin, if you put your violin a little bit more to the side, so you really use your chin rest, then also becomes easier. If you put your chin there, right, so, there, yes,
Oh.
yes, right? But don't try to clench down, don't try to hold the violin, you're holding it up with your arm, hold it with your arm.
Okay.
You're just looking down the strings.
Okay.
Okay. First step. It's weird.
Yeah.
So if you have a long neck, you probably hold up a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
or a little less. I change it actually, but when I play. Like,
Yeah.
when I sit down, I'm more like this. When I stand, I'm a bit more. Yeah. You can move the violin any way you want. It's great. There's no one posture. So the big difference between playing it with and without solo is that there is no one posture anymore, and this frees up your hand a lot. So just imagine being locked in this position, and now you have to play every note in this position. Then you have to make your hand contort in very weird ways to play every note everywhere. I just have it here and I can move it any way I want, you know? And then just, if I want to play notes like this with my, for instance, when I do vibrato here, I like to have my hand on the violin. Well, this is a big no-no, of course. I like the sound, you know? And I'm just supporting the violin more. Well, if you go to a solo teacher who say, no, you can't do that, you have to always have the same hand shape.
Right.
I don't believe in the same hand shape. You just have the hand shape that feels most comfortable to you. Of course, the round fingers would be better and stuff. Okay. Let's talk about shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting up is super easy. Same. You just, okay, let's first talk about the mechanics of
Your
shifting.
hands.
Yeah. One of the big mistakes that people make when shifting is that they focus on the fingers. We don't focus on the fingers because the only thing the fingers do is like press down. And yeah. And how hard are we going to press down? As light as possible. So the way to train it is just play and just start pressing down a little bit till you hear a clean note. That's all you have to do. That's it. It's a very light pressure. It's almost pressure. This will improve your tuning and your tone. And play double stops like this with light pressure. It's much easier, and it's easier to play in a tune. Super light pressure. Never press down, light. If your fingernails turn completely red, you're pressing too hard. If you vibrato with light pressure, it's much easier.
So your thumb position, that's what I do, and I've been trying to get my thumb lower. Do you have a pretty wide, like?
Yeah, I don't care about that, you know?
Yeah, no, that's.
I only care about the contact between my
Right.
finger and the string,
Yeah,
as
you're
light as
not worried
possible.
about how
Why?
high or
You
not.
see experiment, and his thumb goes like that. So shifting up is easy. So the mechanics of shifting. We don't focus on the fingers, we focus on our lower arm. Again, we train the lower arm to remember the location of the positions. So one exercise, where's my metronome? Where's my phone? Oh, maybe I left my phone here. So one exercise, which you probably all know, but I have a slightly different take on it, is this exercise. So you have a, let's say, B, and you go to second, back to first, to third, back to first, to fourth, to fifth, and then you go, and then you stop. So. let's say you want to go to fourth and you're too high. Oh. Don't do. No. Go back to first, because you don't want your fingers to do anything else than press it down. You want your arm to remember the positions. So you train your arm to remember this position. So shifting is always done with your arm and not with the fingers. The fingers, they only press down, and it's the same in every position. Don't focus on, I have to hit this F sharp, where is it on the fingerboard? Or is it there? Okay, I have it. No. It's in the third position. My arm is trained to reach third position, and now I'm just pressing down the third finger. So I go from B to F sharp, I go to third position, and I press the note down. I don't think of the location of the F sharp on the violin at all. Yeah? So the exercise I would do with the metronome, so always do this exercise with metronome, not because of your rhythm, but just because it will force you to spend more time with it. I always do it in 3 different ways. So let's say I have the 150, for example. I do it first with clicks on all 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Take finger. Third finger. Of course, it's too fast, then you do slower at home. Let's say it goes well, then you go half tempo, so 75. And you do 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the same exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you do 2 and 4. So you say 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, up. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So why is the metronome important? Well, there's 3 different ways of doing it, which is fun, but also it will train to make positions in a rhythm. Because you want to be able to play, you want to be able to make your shifts to be timed. You know? Okay. You do it on every string with every finger, from first to second, first to third, first to fourth, fourth to fifth. You can go higher, but not necessary. Focus on your lower arm. Maybe in the mirror or something. Okay, shifting up is easy. So shifting down, that's why you have to do it slowly. When you shift down without a shoulder rest, and you don't think about it, you will pull the violin from under your chin. It's just the way it is. So what you have to do is you have to first, I always say, give your thumb a head start. So let's say I'm in the third position, and I want to go back to first. Look at my thumb. My thumb has a little slight head start. This will prevent you from pulling the violin from under your chin. I don't have to think about it anymore because I've done it all my life, right? But at the beginning you have to be very conscious, that's why you have to do it very slowly, very... Like, move your thumb first. Yeah. Okay, so there's one place on the violin that's extremely difficult to shift without soloist. That's when you're high up on the G string, but because of the uncomfortable hand position, shifting back. It is almost impossible to give your thumb the head start, because your hand's kind of locked, so then you will pull the violin. So, let's say you play the Charters, and you have to play it. And I have to go back to the B flat. Then only for that note, I would press down my chin. And immediately let go. That's not healthy to press down my chin, but only for the one note, for the one shift. Now there is a piece of music that have only high stuff on the G string. That is extremely uncomfortable to play with the soloist, but I never play those pieces. Yeah. So, but like, if you have to play those pieces, that is extremely uncomfortable without soloist. Because then you need to be able to hold the violin between your chin. But I'm just asking you, how many times do you have to play a piece with only high G string notes? For me, never.
it's not that much fun with a shoulder pad, actually.
It's so, yeah, I mean, there's this famous variation of Paganini, like I say, I think it's the most variations, but it's only G string. That is extremely painful and uncomfortable to play without a solo rest. So don't play those.
Good idea.
I said it in my video, I really got an angry comment. I don't like people telling me what I can't play.
Don't try this.
Yeah, okay. Questions about this so far? Because I'm gonna go to vibrato without solo rest.
I think it's very useful to think about moving the thumb, because that's always what stopped me from not using shoulder rest, the shifting down.
Yeah, so in the video I say move your thumb first, but I think it's better to say give your thumb a head start.
Okay,
So that your thumb moves first, but your hand moves pretty close after it.
yeah, okay.
I noticed that when you have your face in the middle of the violin, actually if you have your face on the side, it's easier to have the position with it inside your body. Remember that. Yeah, so you want the violin to be inside your body, right? You don't want it to be outside your body. So if you have your thumb, your chin in the middle, this takes more effort. If you put your chin on the place where the shoulder, where the chin rest actually is, so that's why I don't like those chin rests that you have the chin rest that's in the middle. That makes it more complicated. Then it becomes easier to do, right? Because then the violin is already shifted towards the right. You have your face in the middle of the violin. Put the face on the edge of the violin. No, don't tilt your head. Put it straight, but on the edge. So don't put your chin here. Put your chin there. Yeah, but no, don't move your chin over. Move the violin over. So keep your face straight, because you're doing this, right? So you have here, and now you do try. No.
I see.
Yeah, move the violin over. It feels very weird now. I understand it, but.
Okay.
So your head is actually orientated straight ahead.
Straight. Yeah. Well, so, sometimes I lean it because it's just. But that's my basis. Would be this. Because I'm getting into the groove thing, and yeah. But the base is this.
And there's not a lot of pressure, like downward pressure.
No pressure.
And even some classical, like new students now, like Gloria that lives here in town, who's NPR, she plays straight on.
Yeah.
Some of the teachers are actually teaching classical to play straight on now too, just because of shoulder injury, and you're kind of almost there.
I would say just watch Niels Stein. He's the exemplary model for playing like this. Right? The violin is there low.
Oh,
And people are like, I don't understand how he can play like that. You know why? Because he's completely relaxed. There's no, for him, it's just effortless. Of course, you still got to practice a lot on difficult repertoire and difficult note orders, right? But you don't want your posture to interfere with that. I mean, you still got to train the finger, all the difficult finger passages. It's difficult playing the violin. Okay. Let's talk about vibrato. I'm not sure how many of you think of that, but if you play gypsy jazz, vibrato is an essential part of it. Just because the first guy who ever did it had such a nice vibrato. So I made a separate, by the way, I made videos about all of this, right? Maybe I have some new insights here, but you can watch those, review those videos. It's called Christiaan, this is 2 A's, Christiaan's Violin Ramblings. And I talk about playing without shoulder rest, talk about Borstel, talk about vibrato. Let's talk a little bit about vibrato without shoulder rest, because a lot of people say, I need the shoulder rest for the vibrato. You only need the shoulder rest if you have an arm vibrato. Let's talk about what vibrato is. Vibrato is having a round finger and putting it backwards so it's flat. And then going up again. That's vibrato. Yeah? That's vibrato. So what you gotta do is pull your finger back and up. So there's different ways of doing it. One of the ways is moving your arm back. That's called an arm vibrato. What these people work on when you do arm vibrato is lock the wrist. Bad, never lock joints. Okay, lock the wrist and then move your arm. Well, I just said to you that it's easier to train large muscles, so it's easier to train this vibrato. That's why most people go for it. It sounds great. But locking joints is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for injuries. Also, you can't do it without shoulder rest because you will pull the violin, keep pulling the violin from under your chin. So, you have to develop a wrist vibrato. If you want to have a nice vibrato without shoulder rest, you have to develop a wrist vibrato. Wrist vibrato is much more difficult to develop. But in the end, it's much more relaxed because you're not locking joints. So what I do is I move my wrist or my hand to make the same motion. So the exercise to the very vibrato, okay, vibrato is the most difficult thing you can ever learn on violin. It has nothing to do with everything else you can do. You can learn difficult bowings, and all the bowings have relationship to each other and they help each other. You can learn difficult passages of music and double stops. It will all be helping each other. But vibrato is kind of a weird technique. It has nothing to do with anything else. So vibrato is very hard. It took me 2 years to go from a crappy one to a good one. I nearly gave up, but so you choose tempo. Maybe you start 60, and you start playing quarter notes. It's usually easy to start in third or second position. Let's do second. Let's do first finger. So you. Wanna do that? No, don't shift. Don't shift. Just put your finger flat. First finger. Okay, stop.
So you're rocking your first knuckle?
Okay, I'm going to show you more clearly. Because now I see people doing this. No, not a shift. I want to do this. Round finger, flat finger. Can you all do this? Show me how it looks like. Yeah? Flat, okay. Can you do this? That's flat.
Actually, no, I can't, I have arthritis on my
Okay.
ankles, so what looks like flat is not flat.
Okay, and can you do it the second one? Can you do it at all? Yeah, you can do it.
I don't think I've ever done this before.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it forcefully, you just pull your hand back until it's flat. Yeah, don't do this, don't move your hand up, just pull the finger, so I pull the finger back. Yes. Yeah.
So you're saying what kind of vibrato are you saying?
Every vibrato is based on this, but doing it with the arm or doing it with the wrist is the difference between an arm and a wrist vibrato.
So if I'm not really doing that, right?
No, but that's also, so like, I mean, there's a lot of different vibratos that can sound great. But let's say the classical one that's being used by the great solo players, it's large amplitude fast. Right? If you don't have a large amplitude, so this is a small amplitude, right? It's almost the same note. This is a large amplitude. If you do this fast, it becomes the vibrato we're used to hearing from solo players. If you do a small amplitude vibrato, it's what I call a nervous vibrato. You don't want to be hearing this on slow. You don't want to hear. Then you want to hear this. You want to hear that kind of vibrato. That's large amplitude fast. That's the hardest kind of vibrato to learn, unfortunately. So the exercise, let me finish for you the exercise to show you how it goes. You can do it at home. So you do 8 notes, quarter notes. Look in the mirror to see if you do it with your hands. And then do 8 notes, or quarter triplets. Then 8 notes. Triplets. 16th. On every finger. If you can do this at 110 approximately, you have it. Quarter notes. training, you have the ultimate vibrato. It's very difficult. It's going to take a long time if you don't have it already, right? It's more difficult on the pinky. I can't really do it on the pinky. Unfortunately, I can fake it kind of, but you know why? Because I cannot flatten the pinky. So watch my video on vibrato for more information. But maybe you're not interested. I always say, if you don't need vibrato for what you do, don't waste your time on it. It will take so much effort and frustration that might not be worth it. But for me it's important, for what I do it's important to have the vibrato. So, and I can only do it with wrist because I play without shoulder rest. Even though it's easier to play arm vibrato with shoulder rest, but I don't want to play with shoulder rest because it's too much stress on my body. So,
as far as the fourth finger, like arm vibrato requires less movement of that joint, yes?
I don't know.
Tough to say? Yeah.
I don't think so actually.
Okay.
Because that kind of, I mean the large amplitude,
To get the large end.
large would
Yeah.
still,
You still need a lot of
Yeah.
movement.
yeah. But you know, there are four kinds. So watch my video, but let's say you have slow large amplitude. That would sound like an exercise.
Yeah.
You have slow small amplitude. That's kind of what you hear when a folk player would play a line, and they would play a little coloring, right? It's slow. It's a small amplitude, but what is that? I started with slow amplitude, large amplitude slow, then we do large,
Small amplitude slow.
small amplitude slow. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of coloring the sound. Then you have slow amplitude fast, that's what I call nervous vibrato. It's great for when you have a fast line and you have one to vibrate, you want to keep continuous vibrato on the movement line, like. So you vibrate all the notes, but then the last note, one note, I would do large amplitudes fast. So. It's extremely difficult to do it on these lower notes because.
Yeah.
So the thing with vibrato is also that I didn't say it, but for vibrato you have to change your hand position because you can only have one contact point.
When you're in half position.
No, but also every time you do vibrato, normally I have two contact points, right? Here and there, the V. But when I do vibrato, it changes and there's only one contact point. I can put something between here. So for vibrato, you have to move your arm there so that you only have your thumb. That makes it difficult too, because you have to change your hand position for it. I give more details in my video actually. I don't, because we don't have a lot of time left, and I still want to do questions. Or do we have a lot of time left? What is it?
Where do we go to 1 or 1:30?
I don't know. No, what's
It didn't say.
Oh, no, but that clock's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we have to 1:30, so we have time.
Oh.
Well, first let's see if there are questions about all of this. But I want to address your doubts and your doubts. What do you think about this?
Well, I think you have to play around with it first to kind of.
Now about without the shoulder rest.
Well, it's hard for you without the chin rest, so, I mean,
You need the chin rest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well,
Well, no, if you play without shoulder rest, you need the chin rest.
yes.
If you want to have the vibrato.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're, at least for some of the traditional ways that people are taught, we're actually changing the angle or the orientation of the violin to the body and the shoulder.
Yeah.
And so how does that affect, I guess, the parallelness of the bow? You know what I mean? I guess.
Like this kind of.
Yeah.
So then I have to reach a lot for.
Right. Especially
So
for
here,
half, right?
this is very easy because it's in front of my body.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it actually
So
simplifies
Right.
everything.
You're not reaching across your body.
No. So because I want my shoulders to be the thing to gauge is if your shoulders are relaxed. If your shoulders are not relaxed, just put the violin there. Do you feel any tension in the shoulders? Then you do it. Then it's correct. If you do it there, I can immediately feel tension in my right shoulder when I bow here. I can immediately feel it. So when I bow here, when my violin is there, and I have to reach, I can immediately feel tension in my right shoulder.
Great.
If you press down too much, you feel tension here. You shouldn't feel tension anywhere. When you do vibrato, you shouldn't feel tension. If you feel tension in your vibrato, it means you're pressing down too hard. So at the moment you feel tension, stop, analyze. What am I doing? Like, where am I stretching? Why?
So can we do some, maybe just scales, practicing some of this stuff? And
Yes, so I have
You could
for
look
you
at them.
PDFs that you have to download now. So I have a link. For you to take home. I actually wanted to do this in the beginning, but I forgot that. So go to this link and download what's there. You have a device with you? A phone or an iPad? That's my iPad.
Yeah,
Otherwise I can mail it to you.
okay.
No? And you've already been in 2 of our other workshops because you told me not to drill.
Yeah.
I have a question on, related to vibrato. When I listen to jazz violinists, sometimes they finish a phrase kind of by sliding off the note. And
Okay.
There's a bluesy sound.
We can discuss that. No?
Okay.
I will. Working?
I was going to say, as far as vibrato as it relates to jazz violin, there's definitely some players who use it more sparsely, like a horn might, right?
No. I can address that too.
There's something called the trombone vibrato,
Mhm.
where you find the note first and then add the vibrato.
Like a big band style. Let's talk about it.
It's not downloading, though. Probably with that, it's just too slow.
You put it in the wrong key also. You put a bit Kai, but it's a bit like.
No, I'm putting the, oh,
No.
okay, oh, gotcha, okay.
Bit.
Oh, this is at the Rosenberg Academy too,
No, I put it there.
no? Oh, I see.
Because I have an account for that.
Okay.
2FOW. W.
I don't know, yeah.
C
Oh, cool.
V S O. And you say I agree. Downloads.
So this one,
Okay.
no surprise, but
Open line.
the bow hold is way easier to embrace than the lack of shoulder rest.
Yes, yeah. The bowl is easy mechanics, but actually the shoulder rest in the end it's easier too because there's no stress.
Yes.
But it takes more to get used to it, especially if you're not used to it already.
Of course, yes. Do you need a link?
Yeah.
You read the link? Give me your email, I will mail it to you.
Okay.
I mean, it's only 4 people that could have done that. Yeah, alright. Okay, wait. Give me your email address.
Man. What's the bad that you put that shit in your shoulder rest up?
Yeah, put your shoulder rest now if you need it.
What's that?
If you want to play with shoulder
Is
rest
that
now.
okay?
Yeah, sure.
The next I'll be from this
Okay, so now you have a link, you can click it and you can download it.
Okay, very good. Is that a Tommy Daly?
Yes.
I bought one.
I saw it. I played it last night in the concert too.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about 2 things. Let's talk about the vibrato that you talk about, the shout, the trombone shout vibrato. Let's talk about your question about jazz violin players playing more like horn players. That vibrato I use sometimes, and I only use it on the pinky. For instance, when I'm like, then maybe play. It's only it's just shifting. I would use it very rarely. Just when the mood's great. Right? But I wouldn't use it all the time. It's for a shout. Yeah?
It's something more, almost like, more like a trill than like a vibrato.
But I would use it only very seldomly. People that do it all the time, that not nice sound. You know? But when you do it like at certain places, it's great. It's not the basis though for my vibrato.
I understand.
And it's not a vibrato, it's just a shifting. I actually keep my thumb stationary and I shift my hand around the thumb. So yeah, so in jazz there's two kinds of violin players. There are the violin players that come from classical music, because they are attracted by gruppelli. And they have beautiful vibrato, but they usually don't know the chords of the songs. I cannot really tell like the second note they're playing, so they don't know what the chords are. Right? They try to play by ear, because I think that's what people do, but the good players don't play by ear. In jazz, they play all the chords. And you have the people that come from music that's already chord based, and they are used to playing on chords, but they don't have the classical vibrato. So it would be easier for those people to gravitate towards not playing gypsy jazz and playing more like bebop, because you don't need vibrato, and then they start playing gypsy jazz later, and they take that with them, and they create that sound without vibrato, which is perfectly fine with me. It's just, that's exciting then. I mean, all the guitar players in gypsy jazz have great vibrato, right? And then you have a violin player that plays like a horn player. We all want that sweet sound in gypsy jazz, so I'd say it's worth it to develop your vibrato if you want to play, but you already have vibrato, so if you play gypsy jazz, it's worth it to develop it. Yeah. Does it address your question?
It does. Just the long road to learning vibrato without a shoulder rest.
Well, but you know, listen, because I say so you don't have
No, exactly. I'm just saying, if I want to entertain that idea, right?
yeah.
It's like, oh boy, yeah.
You could start out with a little, so here's the funny thing. I teach at the Rotterdam University of the Arts. All my students have graduated without shoulder rest, without me telling them ever to do it. It's just, they come every week, and then they start me asking questions about it, and I just tell them this, like, yeah, it's very relaxing, and they all do it at the end. Because they feel it's better or something, you know? I never tell them you cannot play with your shoulder rest. Because I focus on jazz improvisation, so we talk about chords and like that. But then they all do play without shoulder rest in the end. Yeah, it's because they see like how easy it is for me to play in the lesson. Like I pick the violin and I play piano and it's so easy. I don't have to warm up or do any weird stuff. You know, so they see that and they want that.
I was just noticing that because I don't have a chin rest, I don't hold my violin at all with I hold my violin with my arms.
Okay, that's good.
So.
Yeah, you already have.
Yeah, because I think it's because I don't have a chin rest to hold on to. I've gotten used to just playing with holding my violin.
Yeah, but then you actually really don't need the shoulder rest.
Right.
And so another thing about shoulder rest, that's a practical thing, is you always have to mess with it. Like, is it the right height? You have to turn the thing. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have to put, it's on crooked.
It falls off.
Yeah. I mean, I just think and
Especially
I play. You know?
Yeah.
It's a small thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't care about like shoulder rest builds or like I have this one thing with it's like it's big and it goes to. I don't care about that. Just give me your violin and I play it. Yeah, I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about playing in tune. I'm not sure if it's an issue for many of you, but it is an issue in jazz. So I want to give you the thing I found to play in tune. It's different from classical music. So why is it different? I don't think actually it's that different. It's just the way I look at playing in tune. It's a different way. So in classical thing, there's this big thing about when it's the third of a chord, or when it's the sixth of a chord. So when you play a note and the correct double stop note will be the E, then the C should be higher than when it's the A, right? And this comes from string quartet playing. Because in string quartet playing, you're playing chords with the other instruments, and then you have this Pythagoras, I don't know what you call it, but this guy, he invented tunings, and he said, well, you have to have a higher C when it's part, it's the third, and the sixth. It becomes very complicated. In string quartet, it's essential to know at all times which harmonies we are playing, so that we know that the viola player has to play the note a little bit higher to make the chord sound right. And this came into classical music, and now people have lots of theories about, when it's a lead tone, you have to play it higher. It becomes very complicated. And in jazz, this is not possible, because we're improvising. We don't want to be thinking about that stuff. So I approach jazz as a piano player. The piano cannot do that. Yeah?
Piano's not that. Piano's even tempered, not.
Right. Piano just plays, and the guitar too.
Right.
So what happens is, because everything is divided equally within the octave, the notes all sound very distinct from each other. which is what we want, because we're gonna play chromatic lines. Right? We're gonna play lines like. We want to hear like separate notes. It's not so much melodic as chromatic stuff all the time. So I just train myself to look at the violin as like that. So I have some physical things that work for me. The first thing is that if you play a low first finger, so F, E flat, just play it really low. That note is always too high in jazz violin players. I hear them play. I hear this note. I want to hear big difference between that. Let's play. I play E7. I play F flat 9, sus 3/3. I want to hear a big difference between this G sharp and this F. So just play that finger low. Now here's the trick. You play classical music, that works too. Just play the first finger really low. Every time you play it as low as you possibly can. That's the first thing. Second anchor point is if you play your fourth finger, play it higher. And you think you really play. Just because of the physicality of the hand is your fingers are tilted backwards, you will play that note mostly too low. So just play a little bit higher than you think. Yeah, the first thing. So first low, first finger, higher fourth finger. The D, lower, just the third finger lower to make a bigger difference between the E and the D. You're gonna play that E too low anyway, most of the time anyway. So if you then also play a higher D, they kind of sound the same. So there's a big gap between. Yeah?
So these are anchor points in first position or just?
That's first position. No, I take first position.
Okay, fine.
We go to third one in a moment. High B, low C. So everything is high, everything is low, except for the fourth finger and the first finger, the B. So on the A string, the B is high, the E is high, all the other are low. Low, high, low, high, low, low, high, low. That's how I intonate on the violin. Another thing, when you shift to third position, play the D low. I hear too much of this. It sounds terrible. Just shift lower. Of course, there's a limit. I try to be low. Yeah. Actually, if you train your first hand in first position to do this, you will notice that the other positions will kind of.
Right.
So one other thing is that this G is always too high. You play the. This is a low G. This may sound super weird, but this really works. I mean, you get this kind of like piano-like tuning, which just works in jazz. I use the classical too. When I play in that orchestra, I start to play the solos for I do that too. I just play the first low finger. I mean, I want the instrument to be sounding good on its own, not so much in relationship to what the cellos are doing. Because I'm not trying to play chords with the other instruments. That's what you do in string quartet. I'm trying to play lines on my violin that are moving. So I want my lines to be in tune with each other, and I want there to be a big difference between the notes. Not
Yes, string quartet would be maybe the only like small
Yeah, I think so.
chamber group is the only.
So I don't believe in that like high D tones. Like there's not enough difference between the C sharp and the D now. I want more. I want that instead of. Especially when you play jazz, but also when I play classical. And generally, people play everything too high. So you could just, if you train yourself only to play everything a little bit lower, it's already good. But then the fourth finger needs to be higher. That's this good starting point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I've told you everything I wanted to tell you. So there's still like 5 minutes left. So let's go to questions.
I've got a few, but
what I like, it reminds me of the workshop I went to last year on improvisation. You seem to find the simple, essential kind of principle behind something.
Yeah.
I really like that. In other words, instead of, like you say, a political, historical way of doing something, you find what works.
But the funny thing is, actually the greatest violin players that ever lived, you could talk about that, but the Lewis and Hyde, they actually played like this.
Well, someone told me, look at Oistrakh, when he gets to Prague, he doesn't do a lot of fancy stuff.
No.
Nothing, he just goes up and then he goes back down.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I always tried to do the Russian bow hold by starting like this and then laying this finger down.
No.
I never got,
No.
so right away,
No.
this has been very helpful.
Yeah.
I'm a long human,
Mhm.
so actually the Franco-Belgian is kind of tricky for me.
Okay, yeah.
Like unless they make a 5/4. I'm sure you feel the same way, perhaps, but.
I never played Frank Belgian.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know.
But I do know, when I see people do it, I think, well, that looks very complicated. I'm glad that I don't have to do all of that, but you get like this kind of, you know. If I want to be inspired, I watch Mustaine and Clavacos. Those are the two I watch to get inspiration about playing like with the Mustaine also playing without ChristiaanLoRez. Clavacos played with ChristiaanLoRez, even though he used to play without. Questions?
Just thinking about it.
Digest.
I bet that most of you won't actually change it, but it's good that you heard it and that you know what actually is behind all of this. It's not just, oh, we throw the shoulders away, we try to do without and do the exact same thing. No, it actually changes everything you do. It changes the vibrato.
Yep.
It changes the way you hold the instrument.
No, I think I would try the bow. I mean, I'm constantly changing because I go to a lot of workshops and, I mean, I play mostly Scottish and Irish, but I like and I teach too, so it's kind of nice, and I mostly teach adults who are just starting to want to play, you know, later on, and that's why I teach fiddle and not classical.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But that kind of stuff I think is really, because the classical bow hold is just, doesn't make sense, you know, it doesn't resonate, you know, the traditional bow just doesn't.
Yeah, so you say
Everybody
classical bow
always
hold, but
wants to
actually
go-
mine is also a classical bow hold, right? For classical music.
Right.
It's just, the other one is just used much more, and the reason is because all the teachers are teaching that, and they become teachers and they teach that to their students.
Not to get political, but I think Suzuki has a big part of that.
Yeah.
So many times they go, instead of this way, the tendency when people pick up bows is to want to go the opposite way.
That's rude.
And then if you start out with that, I like the idea if you start out with, instead of trying to teach like this kind of loop, it always, and then let everything else fall around that loop. I think it's a really simple bow to teach.
It is.